We're here, and it's episode 9, and I am with the back again for more. We have, who are you again?
Jeff Halperin, good to see you, good people, once again.
You do realize this is live and raw and unedited, and anything
Yeah.
could happen. Are you sure you wish, warning, buyer beware?
Okay, yeah. I wasn't frightened until you put it that way. Is this gonna be like you know, you got some hardball questions for me about jazz or something?
Oh, I am gonna take you to the cleaners. We know you better. Oh, we're gonna get political. Wait, is that even possible about jazz?
Yeah.
Jazz itself is
Surprisingly,
political.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, you can. It's not where I was gonna go exactly. I'd like to keep it, pretty musical, but
We could
yeah.
keep it musical. We could keep it
I'll go
musical and
political on
not.
you.
Isn't
Like
jazz,
that.
from what I understand itself, it's not like classical music where it's a bunch of German and French and Italian guys sitting for hours writing symphonies. This is like a different genre altogether.
It often gets paired with classical because now it wasn't always considered prestigious, you know? Like at first it was like classicals up here and jazz for a long time was considered lesser. It's primarily a black music, you know? It was like comes from black culture. And so it was considered, oh, they're not like restraining the music as much, right? Like classical music sometimes, to oversimplify, sometimes it's about like restraining certain impulses. Where like in jazz and blues, it's more emotional and it's like letting it out. Um, it's also, there's a lot of can be very complicated too. I'm not trying to say it's
Unpack.
simple music, but
Unpack for
sometimes
the
these
ignorant.
dichotomies.
For the ignorant Mike Merker who loves the media but doesn't know where to start. I'm just an end user of jazz, an end
Sure.
consumer. I was not in I don't know. When I was learning piano, it was always okay, Bach and Mozart Symphony 40 and do 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 do. It was
That's
not
lovely
like
too.
take out a saxophone and melt into it and cry and this, on a bridge and Homer Simpson's daughter and Lisa Simpson
Yeah,
is
Lisa, just going
finding.
for a
What
bit.
do you think of the Simpsons depiction of jazz through Bleeding Gums Murphy?
Through Bleeding Gums Murphy. I mean, that's a very sweet episode. And it speaks to like that, deep emotional bond people have with music. Lisa's, like, of course, like the smart one in the family who likes all that highbrow stuff. So, like, of course, she's into jazz. My nieces, they went nuts like last year. They're like, Jeff, Uncle Jeff, Uncle Jeff. There's a new episode new Simpsons episode that mentions Sun Ra. And this is my boy. This is a T-shirt I got recently for my birthday.
Happy
He's my
birthday!
Thank you very much. Yeah, yeah. And it was, like, I guess a couple weeks ago now, just about. Anyway, so yeah, The Simpsons mentioned Sun Ra. They're pretty good about jazz. They're good about. They have a lot of references that sometimes go over the heads of kids, and then the adults watch and they're like, "Yeah, I know what that is." Ah.
And
Yeah,
Sun
Bleeding
Ra,
Gums Murphy. It's a classic. That's what, like season 3 or super old.
it goes back to like maybe 90s era stuff. Do
He was
you
doing like
feel
Sonny Rollins. There was a real musician that used to practice on the bridge, and they do like an homage to that in The Simpsons.
that was based on a traditional or a familiar
A specific
caricature?
dude, yeah.
A
Sonny
real
Rollins.
guy. A real guy, and
Not the whole character. I think just that one bit.
just that one bit. And
Yeah.
but
I think his gums were healthy.
isn't music in its purest form needing like you have to practice it and it is not to be improvised? Like Mozart, Chopin, you can't
There's
just walk in a room and Mozart. You must practice 5,000 times to get the
Yeah,
symphony.
like there's a certain amount of interpretation, right? Like even classical music, it's like it has like the descriptions up top, play it like this, play it with this kind of attitude. It's never just like mathematically this is the only way to do it, and if you veer from it, you're wrong. Like it's
You're
music.
wrong, X. Get out of here. Don't
Yeah.
ever come
And
back
like
to the
look,
orchestra.
these things overlap. There's a lot of jazz players who do like Claire de Lune. You know, Kamasi Washington has like a killer rendition of it. Jazz, in a way, it's like it used to be you take a show tune or like a popular song people know and you jazz it up.
You jazz it up. You
Yeah,
jazz it up. That actually means something.
yeah,
What does that
yeah.
mean to jazz it up?
You make it like you put a little more life in it, you know, a little more verve, a little more bounce in it or something.
That's what jazz is. Jazz is the life force
Yeah,
is injected into anything, and then that's what jazz music is.
it
Raw.
can be like
It can be.
there's like swing feel, right? Ba, 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 da, ba, 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 da. Like sometimes there's like that kind of bounce. Sometimes it's looser. Like I've been getting into more abstract kind of weirdo stuff. And it's every time they do one thing in jazz, they also do the opposite, you know? They're like, okay,
Every
we've tried that.
time.
Let's do this.
They're not afraid to go in any direction. They're not afraid of what the audience. Isn't the audience expecting certain musics when they purchase a ticket or go to a
It,
show or go
it
to a bar?
depends. It depends.
Can we
Yeah.
can we
Like,
can we pull the rug out of from under the audience?
sure. Well, some jazz audiences, it's like they know the song, they want the melody, they actually do kind of want the safe thing. You know, they're having dinner, music is kind of in the background. It's like accompanying them and giving them like an elevated sense of you know, where the scene is or something. That's different than if you go to like an underground club, seeing like a weirdo musician who's like really on the foreground of doing something edgy. I don't know that those places are around anymore.
You've been to the underground, the secret underground. Oh my God! What is there? What does that entail? What tell all about that,
I mean,
if you can.
sometimes if you see like a really killer musician in an environment where they can play what they want, you know, where they aren't limited by like, okay, the fans expect this, manager expects this. Hard to find. I don't know. Like sometimes, okay, Toronto has the Rex, which is unbelievable. And people go there and they want to hear like, you know, musicians kill it. Sometimes they just kill it and it's straightforward. It doesn't have to be like we're doing something nobody's ever done before, right? Like the point isn't just to be like different for difference sake. It's just to be good and balanced and cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's always a tension between like Louis Armstrong, like when bebop came out, he's like, this stuff Charlie Parker's playing isn't jazz. This isn't even music. And now like Charlie Parker's the classic, you know? And Louis Armstrong is great. Like not knocking his music either. And then so there's always a tension between the generations, maybe.
Rant all about the history of jazz.
I had it explained to me this way: that is, you can see the beginning and end of jazz by looking at where John Coltrane started and where he ended. It's like his career basically charts the whole progression of jazz. There's some different places along the way, but it's like you start with the big band, you know, that's like tight, tight, tight. Get into like small groups with like, you know, Thelonious Monk, Miles Davis, very, very heavy players, but smaller. And then, you know, he had his own quartet, and then that group gradually got looser and looser. And, you know, he went like towards spiritual jazz. I don't know. It's all more complicated than that, but it's a lot of fun to explore.
Spiritual jazz? What, you can't toss that in without talking about that for at least 30 seconds. What does that mean?
Well, you know, you're talking about playing music for like people's expectations or taking a show tune. It's like, I don't know. To me, it's like the idea of these people really are like, to us. You know, we go there. Maybe you listen to some jazz. You put on a record. They're playing this day in, day out. Like it means something to them. They're living for this stuff. This is very much like it's very spiritual to them, and it's like, you know, to certain musicians. That idea of like how you're feeling in a moment, like living, breathing through your horn. So it's not necessarily like, okay, it's these songs, it's these changes. It's more, I don't know, it's hard to describe musically. It's almost like an attitude you have towards it.
For the listener, or for the performer, or for the whole band?
For, I mean, there aren't that many listeners. It's probably, it's like a subgenre that's probably smaller. But yeah, I mean, for everybody. But but definitely for the musicians. It starts from the musicians.
There aren't that many listeners, so it's music for music's sake. It's not pop music that's mass manufactured and shoved into down people's throats.
No, but a lot of music that isn't that also isn't mass manufactured too, right? Like, it's not that it's like anti-commercial or something that makes it spiritual exactly. It's difficult to put your finger on, but like you know it when you hear it. And like
Yeah.
I don't know, my favorite, Sun Ra, this gentleman.
Talk about Sun Ra. Yeah. You bought the
Oh,
shirt, you're wearing the shirt, you know you're
yeah.
being recorded. You can't
So,
get out of that without a
I
2 minute
put this
story.
on because I'm on a jazz podcast, yeah, because it's like a brand new shirt, so it's perfect. God, Sun Ra. He started his band in like 1953 until like 1992, and the musicians in it are still playing today. There's a guy in that band who is literally the world's oldest active musician. He's 101, 102 maybe, Marshall Allen. He played like in World War II in the U.S. Army band, and that man is like still. He released his first solo album like last year, the year before. New Dawn. It's wonderful. He's such a cool. He's like he couldn't be a cooler dude. Um, God. So the Sun Ra Orchestra. That's a big topic. They have over 200 albums.
200 albums? Are you in? Are you? There's no way at 200.
Yeah. Well, it's like I was saying. It's like when you're living and breathing this music. It's not like we're gonna go to the studio and write these songs. You're just making recordings like in a house where you live with a lot of the band. A lot of the albums are not necessarily like somewhere between like rehearsals and like studio sessions almost, or like live concerts. They're kind of like I don't want to say no difference. Um, it's strange. It's like some bands, it's like the practicing is like harder than the concert. It's like they rehearse and it's like tighter, you know?
The jamming, the rehearsing, the jamming is the music. The showmanship for a few dead queens and presidents is but the artifice of the commercialization of their love.
You're talking about commercialization for a band like that. Like at no point like were they ever commercial. So like it's not a reaction to that exactly. Like they were never like, okay, now this is the album where we're gonna break out and get big. Like that just isn't what was happening with them. First of all, Sun Ra himself claimed that he was from Saturn, that he was here from he was like from an angel race from another planet. Come here to help Earthlings get in tune. Like there's a lot going on.
Unpack this angelic. What did he really say that?
Yeah.
May I Google search to pretend to be knowledgeable? Okay, Sun Ra.
Some historians say he was from Bama. He was from the American South. But yeah, it was maintained he was from Saturn, and frankly, I believe him. You listen to some of these albums, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. That's interplanetary music.
Wait a second. So May 22nd, 1914 was born Herman Poulet Blount.
Yeah.
Herman Poulet
Yes.
Blount.
Yes.
And he changed his name to Sun Ra. Wait a second, he wasn't just a jazz composer, he was a band leader, piano and synthesizer player, and poet, known for his experimental music, cosmic philosophy, prolific output, and theatrical performances. For much of his career, Ra led the...
This is the vibe. Yeah, totally. Very out there. He was talking about space in the 50s, before they landed on the moon. P-Funk, bless their hearts, they're doing the whole mothership connection, the Earth tour. A lot of musicians got their stuff from someone.
He was a pioneer in the music, not just a guy who played jazz. He was a pioneer in a genre of music. He was a scientist. He was a scientist.
Tone scientist. There is tone science. So there's this notion of jazz that it's like, we were talking about like cultural, but it is at like dinner and stuff like that, a dinner club or something like that. And then there's like, okay, there's the actual sounds, and like how you arrange pitches and how far apart these notes are. What kind of notes fit with what kind of chords? What kind of instrumentation should we have? What's the texture of certain instruments? How do they all pair together? And like he was experimenting with like electronic instruments, so like different kind of keyboards that have like very different sounds from each other. Synthesizers. He was always like the first to adapt a new kind of electric keyboard, like any kind of synthesizer. So he's kind of like a master of not just like his keyboard instrument or harmony, rhythm, instrumentation, but also putting all these things together.
But wait a second. So music,
Sure.
wait a second. But music
Yep.
is something you listen to. Some music, but even machines can make music now. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean, look, when this is what I say when this conversation comes up. When the piano came out, there were people who thought it was like cheating because you hit a button and then that button, there's like the hammer that strikes the string. It's like you're not actually hitting the string. They're like, well, that's like, a keyboard or something. They're like, that's not an instrument. And now it's like, well, piano, of course it is. You're like, what do you mean? And like an organ or a piano is not a musical instrument. There's still a person there controlling what sounds you make. Like, it's about taking sounds that you feel and translating them into the world. The means of doing that, people thought like turntables and sampling wasn't music. But like, frankly, I can play guitar. I don't know how to like sample and like take a little slice of one beat, stitch it together with other ones, and make a new song and scratch and do all that. Like, that's an instrument too. AI, if you're just like, hey, I make like a sound and then it makes it. I think that's really corny. That's like, there's, if you want to like get past barriers, so that everybody can access music, it's like, give them music lessons. Don't just be like, hey, do this for me, But then you probably still don't know how to prompt it. That doesn't mean you'll make good music.
Does the manufacture, the making, the creating of the sound that is called music,
Yeah.
is that is what music really is, the making, not the end product?
Well, there's that idea where it's like the process of it is the point, you know? Yeah, like spiritual music, like you're feeling that. You're one with your instrument. You have kind of absorbed all the lessons about harmony, technique, and then like you transcend them, like top musicians. So you're like really just feeling and playing and responding, and there's like that oneness. You can't really fake that. Certain musicians just have that.
But you yourself were a music journalism, guitar teaching, lover
Sure.
of. You have a guitar, you practice,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
But you are not in the music commercialization business
No.
of the lying of what you're making to sell it, and it's purely money, gelt,
I do it for
gelt.
my own amusement. There isn't anything for sale.
There
I
isn't.
to play other people's songs, or I like just jam with people. Yeah. That's just for fun, like a lot of people. That's what music really should be in a lot of ways.
So
Well, that's a great thing for music to be. It shouldn't only be that.
So what are your thoughts on like Taylor Swift concerts?
She's great.
But it's
Super
not.
cool.
But it's not. But it's repeating a song that's been heard a billion times. It's not
No. That is
improvised.
an extremely elaborate production, right? She does change her songs. She's recorded her songs in different ways. They're great songs. She's like writing the chords and all this. Maybe she has a team and she's writing with friends or whatever. It's not exactly, like, I'm not a Swiftie, but I respect and,
You
that's cool.
respect.
She was playing in like Nashville when she was younger. You know, she cut her teeth in serious clubs, and the fact, like, I don't think you can write songs, connect with that many people, and then be like, it's not jazz, it's not improvising, it sucks. Like, I would never say that in a million years.
You would never see that in a million years. Why? Why? It's not the purest form.
There's a lot of different ways music can be that are all cool. You're not just chasing, like, oh, this is impure, get it out of here. Like, you know, people are just playing. And look, there's 12 notes in the world. Okay? They repeat in different octaves, but there's 12 notes. It's like, what are we talking about here? You know? Write a song, make something cool. Great. Like, put it out there. It should be, like, fun, enjoyable. Usually you can tell. I have kind of two genres. One is it's, like, top down, where it's a bunch of suits who are like, okay, we need to make the next, like, pop band, so they, like, reverse engineer music that they think will be liked. And then there's people who are like, hey, I feel this, and then you make that music.
Wait a second. The top-down suits reverse engineering.
Yeah.
That cannot be kosher. That must be wrong. Objectively
Hey,
wrong.
sometimes it's good songs, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, shit, they did write that one's like a pretty killer too.
But
You're
then,
like, I don't want to like it as much as I do, but sometimes it's like, it's very slick, over polished. It's probably not what I'm gonna like listen to, but on one level, you're like, you know, I see why it like, you know, gets in your ear, why it like sticks with people. That's not what I listen to music for.
but if you walk into like a grocery store, they're not playing Sun Ra.
No, not at all. That's like music. That idea of like, well, we can't just play nothing, but we don't want to play something that's gonna like alienate people or like push them out of the store. So we need to like have a sound that also like isn't a sound.
Muzak. Muzak is the
Yeah.
Talk more about
Like-
Muzak.
It's like elevator music, you know, where it's like that idea of like, sometimes you're in a physical space and they have like something hanging on the wall, and you're like, I really like that thing. There's no like thought or like vibe behind it. It's just like on the wall. And it's like, this is like the sonic equivalent of that. You know?
So
It's
it's
like, you know, a Walmart reproduction of something, and it's like, okay, fine. And sometimes you just need to fill a wall. Sometimes you just need to fill a space. Like, frankly, it would be kind of nuts if they were playing like weirdo jazz and like no frills. You know?
Excuse me, I would like a banana. No, you don't. You cannot leave until the song is over.
Yeah.
Weirdo jazz and no frills. Oh my God. If you owned the no frills, the nearest one, there's one near where I live. Would you force everyone to wear funky hats and jazz music playing all the time, and
No.
everything that was alcoholic would be half priced, but all other items would be double the price?
It's not fun if you have to force it on people, but I would love if they did it, you know?
It's
I
not
don't
fun
want
to
tell
force.
anybody how to live their life, but I'd probably play some like mellower jazz that's like normal, and that's not going to have people like, you know, tearing their hair out screaming, that kind of thing.
Could it be said that a good way to test personality or the quality of character is you play a certain type of jazz music, and then if a person doesn't like it, you know immediately they're square and they're not allowed to talk to you, and a filter. No,
Not
that
at
is
all.
not allowed.
I'm very much against that. Like, there's a lot of things to like in this world. Sometimes it's like your life path or whatever puts you in touch with one of them. Just because you're like not into something else doesn't mean you're like a loser or a stiff dork or something like that. You know?
I was taunted for being in the math club many times.
Well, I'm not saying you're not, yeah, you brought those math books to camp. Yeah, hey, math is a great thing. I wish I was better at math. It helps when you're a musician, you know?
Wait a second. Music is universally cool, but being part of the chess team is not cool.
No, it's cool now. Everyone loves
It's
chess.
cool now. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm 41 now. I'm not 15. You know,
Well, you're still rad, Merker. You were ahead of the punishment that visionaries always have to face, is that people only realize how cool you are retrospectively.
Wait a second, you're telling me there's something cool, a music genre or new type of activity that right now people are doing, but it will only be socially acceptable 25 years, 24 years from now in the year 2050. So we should be aware of these newer art media gaming activity formats now to be ahead of the curve.
Look, there's always like, okay, whatever is cool doesn't change. Like you're talking about like what's perceived as cool by a bunch of people. Chess has always been cool. I didn't realize how cool math was, but now I'm like, okay, pretty cool, even though probably...
I demand reparations from everyone I ever went to school with in the form of gift certificates to chess sets at various toy stores. I'm emailing everyone automatically, instantly, and...
give them revenge wedgies or something. I don't know.
That is...
That's what you want. You're the one who was bullied for many years. But yeah, man, like, jazz has a reputation. I don't know. It's thought differently in different corners. And, like, I'm trying to see it as there's a lot of different kinds of jazz. It's a big world, a lot going on. But you also want to kind of dispel those notions. And, it's for everybody.
Do you think that a person who doesn't listen to jazz is less a person?
No. But leading question. It's like, tell me, the person who doesn't like your music, are they a scumbag? It's like, no, they're not. Like, I love this stuff so much. I didn't always, It's like, was I a loser when I just liked the Grateful Dead a lot because I love Jerry? No. Like, the point is, to go through life and just like stuff a lot. I think this is great, so I like this. Hopefully people like whatever it is. I don't know.
But you are, musically speaking, you are a fan of the guitar, piano. What other instruments do you like?
Saxophones, drums, bass.
You play saxophone?
Not really. I did for like a bit. When I did like my first big jazz phase, I was like, oh my god, like Charlie Parker is killing me. I was like, I'm gonna like put this guitar away for a bit, and I want to be like, beep, beep, beep. And it was fun. I like jam with some people sometimes, but didn't like do it too much and go back in a guitar.
So you are a guitar player with a jazz slant, with a Sun Ra emphasis, with a anti-capitalist vibe, with a how would we classify this to sell you more Facebook ads?
That's like the opposite of what you just said. That was horrible. I couldn't disagree more. Yeah, well, some of it's true, but it's like there's that tension where it's like you're always just like, hey, am I just playing notes here? Am I trying to play notes in this kind of world? Am I a jazz guy? Am I anti-capitalist jazz? Like, that's why he was trying to go to another planet and try to like reframe things, and try to like put people in a different context and like change their expectations.
Oh, it's not that that's the Sun Ra mentality was the desire to be so far out of the box that he's like pulling everyone 1 inch to the right. So to pull a billion people.
He starts off and he's like, I'm not in your box, don't even like think about that. But he also does like a lot of traditional jazz stuff too. It's not just like weirdo otherworldly stuff. He's all over the place. He's like everything you can be in music, I would say. Yeah. He like transcends categories very much. Very hard person to peg down.
And indirectly forced you to buy a shirt that was slightly overpriced and made in Bangladesh with various colorful inks made by perhaps a woman hoping to support her family, such that you would be forced to buy it capitalistically in this part of the world.
It actually started like the exact opposite of that, Marker. That is, it was like 2023, how I got into this band. I had heard of them. I had like one album, and it was like Jazz and Silhouette. So it's like a pretty straight ahead album. It's not like weirdo at all. Wonderful, wonderful album. But I was on Twitter one day, and I saw that Sun Ra Orchestra was doing like a free workshop in Toronto. So I was like, what the hell? Like, that's crazy. So it was like on Dundas. I live on Dundas. It was like you just go on a streetcar, and then they just, takes you right to the venue. You go in and check out this free workshop.
A workshop?
Yeah, I was like, it was still like, pretty COVID-y. It was pretty down, but I was like, I should get out and like really force myself to go check out this thing. And Sun Ra himself was in Toronto in the 90s. They formed some attachments here and whatever. And so they were like in Regent Park doing a free workshop for kids. So it was like, there was like a community band on stage, and like their instruments are kind of unplugged. And then anybody could just come and listen. And the band was just there, hanging out. They were playing, they were doing some, describing the music between songs sometimes, and then just playing. And then afterwards, we had like samosas in the hall. They had like free food, and you could just hang out and talk with them. Yeah.
Oh.
So it really wasn't like they're trying to do this thing and sell T-shirts. Like, no, they go around the world not making money, spreading music, like they really and have done for years. Like, they never really made it. Like, they deserve to have a lot more financial security than they had. They were not rich by any means.
Wait a second. But don't we at some point, doesn't every artist or business or pure idea have to, communism, don't you at some point sell out to make money, to eat things?
Well, he was able to keep a band together for years and make enough to keep it going. And, pay people to, like, eat, pay for room and board, pay for recordings. Like, people thought, okay, this guy's kind of a maniac, but he's also totally a genius on, like, a lot of different levels. To have that creative freedom of expression and to, do the practical things, too, it's really difficult to juggle. So, yeah, I mean, part of me thinks, well, they should have been showered in money. They shouldn't have had to stress about that even like 1%, so that they, our most talented, brilliant musicians could just be free to, play, not have to worry. But no, they did have to still, like Ahmed Abdullah, who's a musician. He wrote a book a few years ago. He was in the orchestra, and for years he had to drive a cab. Because it's like, that band, as killer as they were, he was there from like 78 to 92, top shelf elite talent, like Miles Davis, Sun Ra, like up to here. And sometimes those musicians couldn't make it work. It wasn't only like one band. A lot of musicians would come in for a bit, then come out. There was like a core that was there. So, yeah, like the money, how that all works with like, that unlimited freedom. And Sun Ra talks a lot about discipline. It's not just freedom. Like, I'm talking about, like, transcending the instrument and all this. He's like, no. Everybody talks about freedom. He's like, in my band, you need discipline. And he was, like, iron tight about time, harmony, everything.
There's so much to take in here. How many shirts do you have that say Sun Ra? Please tell me you don't have. Please tell me you have a.
My sister got me one, and my father-in-law got me two. So I have 3 total.
Are you the kind of guy who will wear the same shirt 2 days in a row unless a woman is yelling in the background who may or may not be related to you, may or may not be Jewish?
Amanda, she's cool about that kind of thing. Sometimes it goes 2 days. Not if you're like sweating. Like, try not to be too big of a pig, but sometimes it happens.
I have only one shirt where I put a stupid character on it, and my wife's always.
I might have worn this last week on the podcast. I'm gonna wear a different plaid next time. I hope they don't see me in this again. It's possible. I don't remember.
Should we be? But tie it back to music. If it's all audio, how can there be non-audio sellings, shirts, hats. That it doesn't make any sense.
So it's not only audio. Their concerts, they would have like dancers. There'd be like crazy lights, like pyrotechnics. Like there's a lot going on at the show, right? If you have a record, that's different. Sometimes you're listening to a record and you're like, what the hell even is this? And I think I'm like, if I was in that room when they were playing that live, maybe it would make more sense. Because I don't know what these sounds are.
So when we really think about it philosophically, music, which could have been in the past was sold as CDs or records or cassette tapes. Today it's a whole other ball game where you end up buying the experience of seeing the person you heard.
That's how it started. The CDs and recordings are new.
The CDs and we have returned. Oh, we've returned to the primitive or authentic form of just the music.
Like, for like 98% of music history, if you weren't in that room, you weren't hearing it. You know?
Before recorded music, you had to be in the room. There was no there was no replay. There was no storage. And now we live in a super storage, over storage, everything society. So people are like, let's go back to the olden days, the original gangster live music.
I mean, I don't think people ever went away from live music exactly. You know, like concerts have always been great. There was never a period where nobody went to like a concert for that decade. You know, like I'm a Grateful Dead guy for God's sakes. I was like raised to think like the concert is everything, and you know, it's like you're listening to a tape of like a moment in time. The band was feeling it, and you're replaying that. So to me, that's always been very much in my musical consciousness or whatever, where it's like the idea you have of a song, it's like almost like finalized if you hear like a studio version, but then you hear them play it so many different ways when you're like, well, they could have recorded it differently, and then you would have a different idea about that song. There's no like final thing called the song.
This is so deep. I'm gonna have to call my therapist and take Tylenol, and I might, and other things that are illegal. No, I'm just kidding. I have a question though. If it was originally could we say a black or African American genre, let's say like rap, could a non-African American, a white guy, is he allowed to partake?
Yeah, I think so long as come with respect. You're not trying to like co-opt it. And then some people are like, well, when are you co-opting it? Like, maybe you just suck and you're not trying to be rude. You know? You're not trying to like exploit a culture. You're just like talent, and it's just like that, and people like it, and you're like, well, that's just a shame. I don't know. Maybe there's people who go out and they're like, I have no talent. I don't really care about it, but I'm going to use it to get famous. But like, so long as you do it with with an honest spirit, and you really do love it, that usually comes out. If you have talent and you mean well, it's like, sometimes there's like resistance. Like, Bill Evans was like a white dude in Miles Davis's like classic like first quintet. But Miles was like, what did he say? He's like, I don't care if he's like green and breathes purple. It's like you play like that. It's like something, he said something cool like that. But there's people who are like, they would rather him play with the black piano player. And there's some people who are like, Eminem faced a lot of resistance because he's like a white dude or something.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice was like, went through so much hardship, but I mean, Vanilla is in his.
Priceless artist, Vanilla Ice.
That's
I don't know that that's the best example you could have
I you're the one who has fresh water in front of him to make sure his properly hydrated. I'm going to use that as my excuse.
Drink water. Yeah, you got to stay hydrated. It's important.
Music is a big part of your life every day. How much time do you devote 24 hours in a day? How much goes to music?
Sometimes it's like if you're playing, like while you're like working and stuff, sometimes you're listening to music and it's, little background. it's like you're blending in and you just want to like focus on something and it's for a task. That gets included in like tabulating it. I don't know, 3, 4, 6 hours a day maybe, something like that.
You're telling me you listen to music or play music for 3 to 6 hours every day? That's
Yes, you can
crazy.
streaming like in the background while I'm doing stuff.
3 hours every day, so like more than 10, 6 hours a day. That's like 25% of all your life. There is music.
Well, why wouldn't
Ness.
you have it? You know, it's like I've Spotify. I have records too, and you have to like go up and flip it every once in a while.
You
That's
buy
like more active
records?
listening.
Why would you wait? What? You're buying records still? Vinyls?
Totally.
What? No, but the music is free and
First
digital.
of all, Spotify doesn't have all my Sun Ra records. I've got stuff that you can't even stream. Um, yeah, you think I'm just buying Sun Ra t-shirts? It's the records that kill you. Do you know how expensive his original records are? By the way, oh
I
my
don't.
god, they're like the most valuable collector's item in vinyl trading, some of them.
You are
Because
a vinyl trader of fancy unattainable records. What is this a thing? Should we all be buying records still?
no, I don't really recommend it. If you're like, it's one of those things where it's like if you can be talked out of it, then don't. Because it's just like, look, it's good to have better than average speakers. Like sound quality is important, but you don't need to like spend an arm and a leg. If you have a good receiver and good speakers, it's better than just like standard Bluetooth speaker. I'm not like a crazy audio guy, but sometimes you can really hear the difference, and it means something.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
You're the kind of guy when it's like, oh, I need a new laptop. You meticulously need like the best audio quality or the
No,
best
I don't care about.
or a phone.
No. My phone's garbage. Laptop garbage. I don't care. This is just for music.
Music is its own. You are not just utilizing whatever phone you have to enjoy music. Music is its
Well,
own separate reality.
no. You can use your phone to like connect with the receiver, but it's like a good receiver through good speakers. So, yeah, or you just listen to records.
So like 99% of people may not be buying records. You, Jeff,
Yeah.
are one who takes out his debit card or cash and says records exchange immediately.
Way less than I did. For a while, I was like, okay, I'm going to the record store. Because, like, there's a bunch of record stores around me. So, you go on a walk, you get your steps, you check out what's going on, and you're like, oh, they've got this P-Funk I've never seen. Oh, they've got this Weirdo Raw. So, like, just to give you an example, like, if they reissue an old Sun Ra record, it might be like $30, $40, $50. But if you find an original copy of a record that like came out in the 50s or 60s that was like on the Saturn label, on his label, it's like $1,000, 500,000, and sometimes like thousands of dollars. I'm not buying those records.
You're
Those
not
are
buying the Ferrari Bugatti of records, but you must have it. Why? Why must you hold it? You can't. You're not one who would. You wait a second. Years ago, you never illegally downloaded music. You don't have to answer that. RCMP, police. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Oh, illegally downloading music is honorable. I think it's totally fine. Well, I'm a Grateful Dead guy. It's like everybody, you record those tapes and you pass them around to everybody.
Grateful
And when Jerry
Dead.
was asked about it, you know what he said? He's like, yeah, once I'm done with the music, they can have it. Like, who cares?
Once I'm done with the music, they can have it. Grateful Dead was
Yeah.
one of the first groups where they're like, we want you to replicate. We want you to record.
Yeah, a lot of bands try to take control of like what gets disseminated so that people can't just listen to their music without paying them a cut. And so they were like, no, we don't care. It's like we have enough to go on touring. We're all eating, everything's fine. And, what's the problem? if anything, they were like, well, some of this equipment is like blocking people's sight lines. So they're like, we'll make a specific section at the concert where they can just set up their microphone. That's
Grateful
fine.
Dead, like other jazz musicians, were very pro music spreading and philosophic through the music and through
Yeah.
the way the music was coming out. Not just the music itself. The what do you call it?
Music is the thing actually driving you to do everything. And then you need to have, like, you need to figure out everything else, but that is the primary thing that is, like, actuating everything else.
Should I be listening to music more?
Yes. I mean, I don't know. Look, people's life do what they want. I think it's great. I try to listen to music more. Sometimes I'm like, I went for a walk and didn't play music. Why? Sometimes you like hearing the world, or that's fine. But yeah, generally, I think people should probably listen to more music.
And when someone's doing something monotonous, something annoying, something they have to do, music can make it less crappy.
Yeah, totally. If you have like, you're working like a regular job and you're like, this is boring. If you listen to music, you're having a great time. Like, it could be the difference between hating your life and loving it.
You're
That's
telling
why,
me
like,
the cure music could be like the cure for cancer or something.
Well, it's like kind of with Alzheimer's, right? People find that it's like people who can't remember anything, when there's like a song from their childhood that comes on, they like turn on and they like start remembering. It's very hardwired in people.
Music is like an innate human need, like air and water.
I don't know that it's as biological as that. You don't literally die, like if you don't have music for like a day or two. But I mean, I don't know, we're like really hardwired for it, totally. To just respond in like a crazier way than I ever realized. I'm learning a lot about music myself still.
India. When you were in India, they have jazz in India?
Sure, yeah. Rock and jazz in places. But music there, it often accompanies like religious ceremonies and stuff. You go to like temples, right? Like tablas and like different kinds of instruments. Yeah. And it's like the breathing, like this like chanting. There's a lot of who I should have brought up when we were talking about spiritual jazz, and this ties into it so well, is Alice Coltrane. Unbelievable musician, comes from like Western music. She's like, I think, born in Detroit, and plays all kinds of jazz, but then got very interested in like Eastern spirituality, and so the music ties to a lot of that. She was like living at an ashram for a while, and so there's like chanting and that kind of sensibility in her playing, but there's also a lot of like Western jazz technique. She was married to John Coltrane. When John Coltrane started getting like looser and more spiritual, she was in the band and went that direction.
That's a very kosher way to say. We went in that direction.
Musically.
We won't.
Yeah. You went like, as far out as you can go. He really went quite far.
When you were a music journalist, what would you write about?
I was a music journalist. It was for a site where it was just like, hey, whatever music you're interested in, just write about it, and that's fine. I interviewed Classified, the Canadian rapper Classified.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to interview him early on, and
what was
John
that like?
From Billy Talent.
What's that like, interviewing a respected Canadian musician?
It's really cool. I was like making sure to listen to all his music before, because you don't want to just be like, so what inspires you? And just like ask some like horrible dumb question. Where do you get your ideas from?
You researched him. You not just listened to music. You got deep into you prepared. Journalism of art is like so high. You have to be really respecting the artist.
This wasn't like a crazy outlet or anything, but you don't want to waste somebody's time. You don't want to look like a chump and just, have some like garbage work that doesn't really need to exist. And I was like, it's an opportunity to ask a cool guy some questions. It's like, what am I actually wondering? I'll ask him that.
Oh, so it has to be authentic, genuine from the heart, and
For sure.
you have to meet the journalist, the media, the journalist, the articler, the person interviewing has to meet the artist at their level of quality and devotion.
You should do that for anyone you're interviewing, right? It's like,
Oh, really?
well,
Oops.
I'm
Teach me.
finding this out
Teach
in
me,
every
Rabbi
technical
Sensei.
podcast.
Teach me,
No,
teacher.
but like,
Wait, how should we
if,
podcast? How should
but
Mike Merker be a better Mike Merker?
you're doing great right there.
No, no, I want to be roasted.
And I'll let you know when you're really fucking up. I'll tell you.
Oh,
But you're doing great.
do you feel I've crossed all the T's and dotted the I's and everything went in where it needs to go?
Other than the audio.
Tell about how miserable on your end is when audio doesn't work.
Well, I mean, look, I'm sympathetic to technical glitches. I hate these things myself, and it's just you didn't mean anything by it. It's nothing personal. You just turn the thing on, you're talking, and then you're like, we got to turn it off. We got to figure this out. We got to go through our phones and hope that works. But then you do, and then it's fine.
But right now, we're recording this live. The person who may watch this tomorrow or a week from now,
Yeah.
they may only click a link and see something on YouTube, right? They
Sure.
may not know should we be, right now we are telling them that it wasn't necessarily what it was. What they're seeing may not.
They wouldn't be missing out. It's not a great story. It doesn't matter.
Should we lie, though?
Yeah, we should be cutting this out, what we're saying now.
Oh, we should cut. Wait, so your philosophy of media and journalism is that we should cut out that which is not desirable?
It can be lightly edited for context. If you're having technical problems, you don't need to keep them in to be like, well, we don't want to, we want to tell the raw, unvarnished truth. It's like, well, the mic was wrong.
Oh,
Like,
so
that's not the kind of thing that's like, the media is lying to you. They didn't tell you about this technical glitch. Like, that's fine. You can cut that out.
and media in general, we should be. What is the media? Why aren't there black women on the running countries and reporting?
Talk to the people running the media. Yeah, I mean, that's a big question. You want to talk instead of jazz?
Sorry, I threw that curveball in. So you're editing. How long should an interview be?
I don't know. I guess as long as it needs to be. Like if there's like, sometimes it's like, if someone's like meeting with Bob Dylan, it's like maybe you're like hanging out for like a weekend and the thing's running for hours. Like you have times like that. Sometimes, a politician's super busy. They just want to get a couple talking points across and then get out before they can get asked something tough. So they want it to be like as quick as possible. Like the longer it goes, the more vulnerable they are.
The length represents a long form media, like a documentary series or a long interview, weakens the superficiality of the person interviewed. Of course.
There's more opportunities to make a mistake and like put your foot in your mouth and say something that gets like played back. That's like if you're like an aspiring politician or like maybe a business leader. Like the more prominent you are, sometimes the more you have to lose in these things.
But the average, or like, why do some people get interviewed but others are not allowed to be interviewed?
Well, sometimes it's like you have a company that's like really tightly controlling their message. It's like you spend like millions on disseminating how you want to be perceived, and then you have like, somebody just make like one loose remark that can undo all that. And it's like, why have, ads and billboards and all this stuff only to just screw it all up with like one off the cuff remark?
Oh, so it's there's a law. There's a capacity for loss, but jazz, tying it all back, jazz. There is no such thing as a mistake in jazz.
Well, I say it's like if you make a mistake in jazz, do it again.
Can there be a jazzing of media? Is what I'm getting at.
The jazzing of media. I don't know that it works with media. It's not as hip a medium, It's way less musical than medium.
But me interviewing you here, we have jazzed a bit, and we're jazzing, and are we gonna? Is it dangerous?
In some ways, no, because it's like if I say the wrong thing, I'm not worried that my empire is gonna collapse. Like there's lower stakes in my case.
So. Wait a second. So, the interviewing of a person, independent of the topic, is itself open to interpretation, and it doesn't have to be manufactured and edited precisely. It could even be considered. Well, we should edit out the garbage of a mic not properly working and yell at, and then I should abuse, of course, the person who sold the mic, right? That's included in the purchasing power, right?
Sure.
And I can blame you also a little bit. I can come up with some scheme.
I was talking to this jazz guy who just had no respect for microphones. Sure. I don't think I'm innocent, but maybe you have a different.
What is your... It's a lot to take in. You like journalism? You're a journalist?
No, not now. I mean, there's that thing where it's like if you've been in journalism, you're kind of always like reading it and you feel with them and kind of like maybe seeing the world a bit through that way. Not that I was like being a journalist at all. I still try to read newspapers and, stay in touch with the conversation sometimes. But that's not really because I'm a professional journalist now or anything like that.
I'm not but I'm not who am I to say that I'm a journalist? All I am is a poor mic plugged into a crappy recording of an old laptop paired with a mistaken editing software and a YouTube link. Isn't that the ultimate fugazi?
We're a couple of gentlemen having a conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what a lot of media is now. It's like podcasts. It's like people are getting their news from like comedians talking with like crackpots. And it's like Spotify is like, here's $100 million, just keep talking. And it's like, then the news doesn't really have the influence it did. It's like what we're doing now, I don't know, it's probably not fundamentally different than some they're more polished, more experienced, but it's just people talking.
Because of the era we live in and the freely available technology that has advanced to a certain standard, what is media? It's fragmented to such an extent that anyone, anywhere can generate it freely and people will watch it randomly. It's almost randomly watched and freely generated. It's the ultimate mind screw.
I mean, look, you can buy ads, promote it, and get people like talking about it, even if like you're not really saying anything. But I don't know. There's some people who have a lot to say, and their podcast doesn't get big. I don't know that much about podcasts.
Me neither.
I've been on more podcasts than I've listened to, having been on like this my second. I've listened to like a couple podcasts.
You would call this a podcast?
I don't know. Is it just an episode? Like, what's the difference? Now you understand what the jazz guys, because it's like everyone's like, what's this genre? What's this? It's like, I'm just doing this, man.
I'm just breathing into a piece of brass.
Stop trying to put me in a box,
Boxing!
Like,
we should not be boxing things.
Yeah. Sometimes it helps to, like, if you're going into the record store and you're like, hey, where's this record? I can't find it in the jazz section. And they're like, well, don't box the musicians in. You're like, okay, but what section do I find it in? Like, some ways it helps. One category. You don't want to, like...
Excuse me, can you take me to the jazz section? How dare you tell me that there...
presume my genre?
How dare you say that there's a label to this musical art? You devil! Get out of my store!
Human existence, you pig. Like...
You're telling me that you've walked into music stores and people have arguments over if music should be even sorted or boxed or even... the records should be in vinyl casings? Like, is that really what happens? Oh my God, I can't.
I've seen Alice Coltrane in the John Coltrane section, and I was like, sir, like, just so you know. And he's like, yeah, it's like, I was like, she deserves her own tab. Like, she's like a giant musician. Alice Coltrane, John Coltrane. But they're not in the same band.
A record store is like its own... The only people who buy records are the aficionados. So then when a person walks into a record store, everyone's like, oh God, call the police. Oh my God, Jeffrey Halperin's here.
Dweebs are going to get like up in arms about issues nobody else has even heard of.
The Jewish guy with the Sun Ra shirt's coming. Calling all cards. Remove all labels.
I'm like, hey, so like, are there any Sun Ra records in the back that you just haven't put out yet? And they're like, I'm like, okay, see you tomorrow.
And then middle fingers, curse words, and hate spews subconsciously towards the store, and then it closes
I know
down.
What they're thinking when I leave, but it's like, I don't know. People should be excited about music. There's always, like, I've worked in a music store, and somebody will always come up, and it's like, whoa, you don't know, like, so-and-so? They're, like, my favorite band. And it's like, shut up. So, like, just try to be relaxed about it.
I had a part-time job. I'll tell you. No, a similar thing. I had I remember it was like 2 months or something. I was working at a Jewish bookstore, and I was working there in a similar vein. And people would come in. They'd be like, "I need to get something for Passover," and I'd be like, "Oh, well, there's lots of options," and they'll be like, "No, I want the real Passover." And I'm like, well, hold on a second here. Like you want to be like a slave in Egypt for 400 years? I can take you in the back and like beat you. And then the store manager's like, Mike, no.
I meant the book.
Someone's
But
like,
you found him the right book in the end?
So a woman would come and be like, what should I get for my family? And I'm like, tell me about your family. And then half an hour later, it's like, oh, so we're not really practicing the religion at all. And I'm like, no, I didn't say that. And the store owner would be like, Merker, you're supposed to help people get books. You're not supposed to... people shouldn't be crying when they leave the store without credit cards coming out. Where are the credit cards should be swiped. The women should be sent away. We're not having a discussion of epic proportions. I'm like,
you're not supposed to talk to the people who come in here. You're supposed to take the money and ship them out.
Yeah, I guess so. But you worked at a music store. Where are the lines drawn between retail engagement, commerciality, and the truth? It's complicated.
There is no commerciality. It's like, that's a good thing about working in a record store. That's what they hire you for. You're supposed to judge people who don't like your music and like connect with people who do. In a little way, I don't know, sometimes it's like you want that jazz person to be a snob. You want them to sneer at you. That's part of the experience. You were disappointed when you were like, Taylor Swift. Like, what do you think about her? I'm like, she's cool. And you're like, no,
I want to hear
sort of
curse
that, like,
words.
unbridled just snobbery, like, she's terrible. She's not like this.
I remember this. Yeah, I remember this. A woman coming in being like, my family's really ADD and we hate each other. what book should we get to do the Seder for Passover? And I'm like, yeah, get the 15-minute hurry up and F you God kind of book. And then the store owner's like, no, Michael, no, we don't use the language. And the woman's like, really, F you? There's a book. I'm like, well, we call it the abbreviated version. And she's like, what about that traditional one from the 1950s? I'm like, oh, the Goldberg, but that's old school. You know, your kids are going to be killing each other with the crackers are going to be broken over each other's head.
How many different books are there? For the Seder, I thought it was like largely the same.
Oh, no, two Jews. They're worse than jazz musicians. Two Jews, three opinions. Oh, okay. You're even having a Seder? Oh, my God, horrible.
Conversation.
We, I tangentially, but oh well, yeah. One woman's like, we used to have a Seder, but now we have to include all these new liberal ideas, and I'm like, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And she goes, you don't think there's anything wrong with that? You know, breaking down, crying, and then sometimes you have an old woman with a booby with a little kid. And this is a fancy store, right? And the store manager's like, Merker, don't screw this up. $500. There should be purchases. And I'm like, yes, sir. And then, you see the people coming in, and I'm like, okay, $500. Let's get them to buy $500. And then, boom, she's like, my daughter doesn't believe in the religion anymore. I'm like, well, we have a $500 set. And then afterwards, I thought, well, but just like you're talking about jazz. It's like, what do you give? Do you? Like, is it a philosophic discussion about tradition versus modernity and what is genres? And I'm like, well, we have books. And then I don't know. One time there was some argument, and I went to the owner. He owns a few stores. I'm like, how come you don't have any of this type of book? He goes, well, we have to have a business here. We can't have every, we can't make sure that every idea, Reconstructionist, Reform, Conservative, Atheist, Judaism. I'm like, oh, you're not going to stock any atheist, Jewish, religious books? He goes, well, it's a religious bookstore. We can't sell like anti-religious books.
The purpose of the store.
But I'm like, but I could sell more of those, and you would benefit. We'd all benefit. And he's like,
open a different store.
And then he said, well, but the religion would be desecrated. And I'm like, well, are we in business or are we worrying about? And it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
I like that we've gone from like jazz to religion, because to me, like, it is a natural pairing. Like, I'm not, I don't believe in organized religion much, and so for me, jazz, it really is spiritual, and like it sounds, like you're kind of always on the back foot when you describe it that way, because it's not really considered like an accepted religion. It sounds like a kooky thing to say. People have like T-shirts, like, music is my religion, but like nobody really thinks about it that way.
No, but they do. They do. There's a difference between, there's also if you go to like, I know like an Amish guy, right? So like if you go to an Amish guy and be like, oh, the new iPhone features, he'll be like, God damn you, I can't have this. I have 11 children and I can't, I can't know of such things. And I'm like, oh, you want to hear about it? And he's like, don't tempt me. Don't even talk about it. And, or you go to him and be like, oh, you got to drive the new, one of these Honda Civics. And he's like, blasphemy, I can't hear of such things. And I'm like, oh, it's over, 10 miles an hour. We can get places. And, it's like, Merker, you asshole, taunting me with the forbidden fruit. It's against my beliefs. And, but aren't we supposed to be challenging people? Just like if someone doesn't like jazz, and we're like, jazz, and taunting them and forcing them to convert to jazz, Spanish Inquisition.
It's funny, because maybe friends or family will hear this, and they're like, what do you mean you're not forcing your lifestyle on me? Every time you come over, you play the Sun Ra shit. You won't stop talking about it. And then here I am, like, do whatever you want. But, like, I lay the spiel on pretty often. He's often on my mind. So when I'm talking, it's like, he really blew my mind, this guy. So.
Tell me a little bit more about Sun Ra. Do we have 2 more minutes to rant about Sun Ra before
As long
our
as you want. Yeah.
rant?
Like, okay, what I would say is, I'll describe like his music through the years, but like from a macro perspective. So first, it's like interesting instrumentation, odd instrumentation, like musical instruments that you like seldom hear. The harmony is a little funny. It like wasn't really like experimental, but they say you could like see the direction it's going in. This is like in the 50s, like mid 50s, late 50s even. Then 60s, there's some like really weirdo experimental stuff, some crazy albums, but also like a lot of hard bop. Like sometimes when that band is like swinging and there is a very strong sense of pulse, like it's just so good. I joke, it's like every Sun Ra album has the best song you've ever heard and the worst song you've ever heard. Like there's something on it where you're like, what even is this? This is too out there for me. And it's like, well, I have to respect the place it came from. Maybe I'll learn how to like this down the road. But for right now, I'm like, maybe I'll just play side A and not side B. So sometimes it's out there. Sometimes the music is like so just like poignant, brilliant, lyrical, and like lush. And it sounds like almost like nature. It's like just like a flower blooming. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know how he did that. Music that makes you cry. Sometimes it's super tight, super loose. By the 80s, he started going back to like big band stuff. Sometimes he played like Disney music. There's like a little disco era in there with some like really unbelievable sounds. If you have 200 albums, there's an enormous range. So something in there for everybody. But what happens sometimes is you have an idea about what he is, or it's this weirdo out there stuff, crazy experimental jazz guys, or you see weirdo jazz guys talking about it, and you're like, well, I'm not like him, so I won't like any of his music, And like people can do that from any genre. You're like, I'm not one of those rock guys. I'm not like a goth. I'm not like a hip hop dude or whatever. But like it's all just music. So.
I so can relate it. There's always
Yeah.
the person who's more into something and they're like, you're light? You're like, I'm a light. I'm computer programming, but light. Just diet computer programming.
I like coding. I like the actual like activity, what's involved in putting these things together, whatever you do when you're coding. But people slot you in a box.
Yeah, they're like
a coding guy.
I've had people, they're like, you don't really love coding. And I'm like, well, wait a second. I wait. Well, that hurts. And they're like, good. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but I like coding. He goes, the coder has to be like, they should be only having coding all day. I'm like, well, okay, I have to have it. Can I go to the bathroom? He's like, not until there's enough coding. And I'm like, wait a second.
Not until you finish your code. Yeah, like, look, there are people who maybe they mean it from a good place and they're trying to like defend the honor of the thing they love, and they want to like keep who they think are like phonies out, or like filter in like the real ones from like the hacks or something. And it's like, maybe you come from a good place and you're doing that, but probably just relax.
No, I'm literally speaking about a very particular guy in Montreal who's hardcore Israeli, and he's like, you are not a coder. I'm like, oh my God, why do you, and he like says it with a nice zest and a slap, and I'm like, yo,
relax. Like
nobody
some
gets.
kinds of music, they attract like a hardcore following, and
Yes,
and like a type develops.
that's what I'm trying to say. Why can't Mike Merker be like 5% coder, 10% fake rabbi, 15% fake journalist, 6% fake addiction to jazz? Why can't we assort?
100% jazz, 100% coder, 100% like do all these things. Like you don't need to. Nobody needs to divide it that. Just do the things.
The person who judges we are to take the abuse and feel
You are
hurt.
judging yourself. You know what I mean? Like you're like self-judging. And it's like sometimes people put you in a box and then you like internalize it and start doing it to yourself. Maybe that's what you're doing. I don't know. I feel like it's resonating based on the look on your face.
Oh, hey, I'm gonna wear a cover. You don't know how I feel.
The poker face.
You're
Yeah.
right, though. Wait, so a person can be 100% of music genre they like, 100% career focused areas they like, 100% artistic merit they like, and it doesn't. You don't have to. It doesn't have to add up to 100. You can be
No,
100% of
no,
all your things.
You don't
Okay.
need to calculate. You just do it.
No, but I'm getting. No, I agree with you. But if there's this ethos, this vibe where it's like, oh, you wanna be a Jewish, you're gonna be like all the festivals and all the dompity bompity boopity, and I'm like, Diet Pepsi has no sugar. Leave me alone.
Well, it's like there are some, maybe it's like communities or cultures or whatever, where it's like there's always a tension between like this is what we do, and if you're gonna be of this, you need to do it.
No, but I'm talking about you go to someone's house thinking there's free food, and they slave you for an hour to cut toilet paper into little squares. And I'm like, the toilet paper already has little squares. And the woman's like, you want the free chicken to salad sandwich tomorrow? Cut the toilet paper,
There's no
goddammit.
such thing as a free lunch. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, but I thought there was a free food. She goes, well, for people who are religious. Cut. I was cutting toilet paper for 40 minutes. I was on my hands and knees cutting pieces of toilet paper for 40 minutes. And she's like, and they brought in another pile of toilet paper rolls. And I'm like, it's already rolled and it's already cut. And she's like, not good enough. You want that? You want it free food? And I'm like, well, I never saw. My lawyer is standing by. She's like, well, you can't call him because it's the Sabbath. And I'm like, oh, you got me.
Like when people are in a rigid, I was gonna say rigid religious thing, sometimes they get less flexible about certain practices.
She
For
was
me,
a
I'm like, well, I'm not really in anything, so I don't have to really care about anything. There isn't a thing to interpret really, so you can't really do it wrong. In my case.
So the only person yelling at you to do things is yourself?
Well, that's true for everybody. Like, from my way of looking at it, there's no God, but you guys just make it up and make up a bunch of rules. Like, everyone's making up their own rules for God anyway. But, like, God isn't there for me just as much as he isn't there for you. From my way of looking at it.
What's your way of looking at the whole thing? Is it like jazz?
Well, in a sense, God is like jazz and the lack of God. No, it's like, I don't believe that there's like, a guy in the sky kind of creator God. People have a really strong desire for like structure. Sometimes it's like superstition where you're like, if I do this, will this happen? And so like, I think a lot of rules come out of that desire. And like, I have it in a secular way too. Because as much as I'm like, I'm not, religious or superstitious, it's like, there's like a league playoff game. It's like, well, I have to wear certain socks. I have to be sitting like on this seat, or they can lose, or God will strike me down, or like, Pasternak will kill us again. So, we all have that drive. But then it's like, okay, so then you're in a world where there's like no God, there's no organized religion for me. What is there? And you're like, sound waves. Those vibrations are real. I think they're very powerful. Every single religion incorporates music. And it really helps people believe in God. Whether it's like choir, the Bible has a million references to trumpets, churches have like organ music written by Bach, played with like in the biggest room in town with the craziest acoustics, the lights pouring in through like, the colored glass, the stained glass, all beautiful. And it's like, oh, and then it's like, whoa, oh my God, I believe in God. Because it's like the room's vibrating.
How come there aren't discussions of such deep nature where people of different or different or similar ideas chat openly about such things on
But
TV?
there are. I didn't make this up. Like, people have this kind of, yeah, uh, this outlook exists. Um, that notion that like music is like a very fundamental part of religion. That the aesthetics and the ceremony and the sense of ritual really helps people like commit and like feel like in their body that like God is real. You know,
You
you get like
you
that hum, that sublime feeling.
no one's ever like forced you to believe anything or you grew up believing anything. You never had someone shove you're coming from a perspective where it's just like I'm Jeff and Jeff knows what's good for Jeff and I don't need to be is that the best way to do it?
No, I grew up and my dad grew up like conservative Jewish household. We have like milk dick plates and different plates for meat, that kind of thing. Um, and we went to shul. For a while, it's like your friends are having bar mitzvahs and stuff like that. We went to shul for a little bit before. I grew up and went to like a Hebrew school until like grade 2. Like when I was very young, I did more. I was around Hebrew more, around like Judaism more.
And did it suck?
I don't think I realized how much it sucked at the time, because I was like, oh, this is the world, like I didn't see it that way. Look, I thought it was interesting, and I don't know, I liked reading it. Some of it was cool. When I was studying my bar mitzvah, I was at Adat Israel, and like I would meet with Baruch once a week, and like he was a great guy. That sense in Judaism of people of the book, arguing every point out, and what about this, and challenging, like that culture I really enjoyed. I think that meant a lot to me. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what they were saying in Hebrew, and like you kind of just have to like go and put on these uncomfortable clothes, and you're like,
Stand up,
okay,
sit down, stand up, sit down,
ah,
uncomfortable clothes,
all right,
maybe free
all right.
candy. 4 hours later. You never. Oh, your family's. You're coming from a different background. You don't have rabbis like you're related to or something.
No, no,
Oh.
no. Like I kind of found out, when I was growing up a bit, like my mom didn't really believe in it, and like my dad, like I don't think he really does, but like it's not a big part of his life. I think by the time I don't remember the exact conversation, but my sense of it is like I told my mom, I don't really believe in it. She's like, okay, she's like,
Your
what?
family's more like in your family, everyone chooses what to believe, what to do. Your parents aren't like if you don't become a doctor, the Holocaust. Nothing like that.
No, no, my parents weren't like that. No. But
Oh,
it is
Mazel
important
Tov.
to think. Do your thing.
Do your thing, and we'll buy you a T-shirt of whatever that thing is.
Am I sorry?
It's like a philosophy of whatever you want, and if you like it, we'll buy you a shirt for that. It doesn't have to be do what your daddy did.
Well, they want you to be like happy and fulfilled and just be like good. I think every parent tries for that, and each kid is different. Like if there isn't only one way to do it. I don't know.
You're
I'm
a,
like finding that even now, I'm like trying to resist being put in the box. I'm like very resistant to any kind of slotting.
I'm starting to feel that. I
Yeah.
think that it's nice to be like I could be a little bit this and a little bit that, but I'm also me, so I don't have to play by the rules. But then when you go, you can't go to like metaphorically, you can't like go on the hockey team dressed with like baseball equipment and be like, I'm ready to play. I'm a first baseman. They're like, no, this is hockey. You need skates, or you're gonna get your
You
ass
need a
kicked.
specific set of skills and the
Yeah.
right uniform. Like, you can't just be like an asshole about it.
No, this
You can't.
happened the other day. A guy's like, I'm like, I'm a journalist. They're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, I am a journalist. And the woman's like, no, I'm a journalist. And I'm like, I'm also a journalist. And she's like, did you go to school for journalism? And I'm like, maybe. And she's like, wait a second, what's your name again? I'm searching on your online right now. And it's like, No, you can't just go on LinkedIn and say, I'm a blank plus journalist. You can't. And I'm like, but you're meeting with me right now, interviewing me, so therefore I'm a journalist.
Here's the thing I will say about that. Sometimes you have hacks who have gone to journalism school. Like, it used to be that there were, like, writers and serious people who could, produce very good books, read things, be serious, and maybe they don't have the schooling, but they put in the work. They have a body of work that they can stand by. And even though they don't have the accreditation, that doesn't mean they aren't that thing. That also doesn't mean that anybody can just come up and say, I'm a journalist, and, I'm going to ask tough questions, and they have no idea what's going on, and just try to, like, grill people because they've been deluded online. There's somewhere in the middle.
But for coding, for programming,
yeah.
You can't fake it. You cannot just. You can't pretend. You can't.
If you produce code to do things, then you either have done that or you haven't.
But no, the first thing someone asks is show me something you built. You can't fudge that. You can't be like, well, I'm going to interview you, and if you ask tough questions, I'm going to go around you. No, they ask for a link to a website that holds some program that you built. So
Unless they just want any kind of airtime. Sometimes they're like, I don't care if you're a legitimate journalist. I'm just trying to get my points out there.
Wait a second.
When I grill you, then it means you can't just disseminate what I want you to say.
Wait a second, but there's always a subset of people who are not yet good enough at what they are to be doing for mainstream media or even minor media to pick up their story. So then there's always a set of people who are crazy enough to interview a bunch of random people to talk about anything and then say that they're a journalist.
If you ask anybody, hey, can I ask you some questions? Do you want to be on this thing? Most people say yes. Most people are very happy to talk.
Why do people... This happened the other day. So it was a misunderstanding, and I'm like, okay, episode 9 here with Natasha or whatever. And then she's like, no, I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, even better. Tell me about search engine optimization. She's like, and then she started... she started... No, it was set up. I thought it was set up. I may have had a beer when I set it up, but I set it up, and I'm like, okay, sound test, video test, I'm ready to interview you. And she's like, wait a second, what the, I just left the Ukraine, now I live in Spain, and I'm like, well, I want to hear about that. And she's like, well, I'm not ready to talk about it. And I'm like, you are talking about it. It is recorded. She's like, hey, wait a second, is that kosher?
Not necessarily. Look, it's you want to respect the person you're talking to, and it's you don't want to either hoodwink somebody or set them up for something that they aren't you want them to, they should understand what they're getting into and be ready. Sometimes you have to earn their trust.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
what the sensitivity here is. It sounds like she's gone through something traumatic,
and not everyone wants to tell their... people draw lines. Yeah, I was in another guy's like, well, I'm not talking about anything personal. I'm like, I never said you have to talk about something personal. And he's like, but that's the proof that there's a lot of personal stuff that has happened. But then it's... So then the goal is...
What you want to talk about. Getting people to trust you is a skill. And, and it's not just you trusted me and now I got you to say this and this. It's to make them feel comfortable enough to speak, and that you actually do want to know that there's that you're there to help and hear them out and talk about it. Sure, could be cool. I mean, I don't know. It depends what we're talking about. Right? People have deep trauma. Maybe speaking about it on a podcast isn't the best thing, but could be good.
So in theory, a person can pretend to have a podcast and go around saying they have a podcast and be podcasting, and then but secretly plotting that they're just podcasting without a podcast cause.
I don't even know if this thing is recording right now. For all I know.
It is. I think maybe we should pause here as we've crossed the Rubicon into the unknown.
Sure, I don't want to give up your idea.
Okay, take
Should we
it.
talk about jazz some more?
Yes, yeah, yeah. We'll go back to jazz, and we will not talk
Jump back
about
into the podcast.
forced refugees being forced to podcast, and we can edit
Does
that out.
that
Jazz.
sound like sacrilegious? The idea that like music is actually what makes people believe in their religion? The Bible says that like, first there was the word, that it's like the sound of the word. It's not God thinking. That it starts with like saying, speaking, that there's like a vibration. Like, in like Hindu it's like the it's that vibration. And that like music really is like sound waves. Like it sounds like loose. Like I was saying, music is my religion, blah. I'm like, no, it's kind of everybody's.
I I Oh, okay. So with the word music and all the connotations of music in my mind is always tied to me in front of a piano looking at a sheet, and on
Yeah,
the sheet are circles and lines in a
sure.
language. But
Your
your
experience playing this instrument.
but that's not music. That's just classical formative training of already historical music. You're talking about
Sure. Look, that
music.
is music. That's not everything music is.
Your
Music is like sounds in the world, right?
music
Like
is sands
organized.
in the world.
Sorry?
So wait,
Sound.
so jazz, because jazz is not, what do we call it? Not the word when you like the music transcribed. Jazz is not
I mean,
languageized.
look, it often is. And, like there's a thing called like the fake books where it's like, okay, well, here are the chords, here's the melody for the song. But then you learn the melody, and then, like, the rhythm section plays the chords, and then somebody's soloing over top.
A
So you're
fake book.
improvising, but it's not that there isn't a written component. There absolutely is, and reading is very important in jazz.
What's a
It's like,
fake book? Sorry, a fake book. I never.
yeah,
You're much more learned. A fake book is a. Is that the
that's
same as
like,
a lead sheet? A lead
yeah,
sheet?
yeah, basically, it's like, just, hey, here's, like, the basic information for all these different songs. So, like, if you're going to be, like, a working jazz musician, you usually know, like, the standards, they're called, jazz standards. And the fake book just has a bunch of them in it. I'm not sure why it's called a fake book. It's a
Wait a
book of
second.
jazz
That's
standards.
like. But the history of that origin, the lead sheet, the fake book, from what I understand, that's like the bootlegging of the authentic, high quality music.
No, it's just
No?
like, well, because it's not like a recording of the music. It's just written on the page so that you know how to play it. We're talking about, like, music notation.
Oh, sorry, you're not talking about buying books that are fake for
No, no, no. I don't mean like forged. No, I don't mean like
Oh,
published
sorry.
legally. They're just called the fake books. You can buy them from a store.
Oh, a fake. It's real. A fake book. What's a fake book again? Sorry.
I don't know why they're called that. Think about it as a book you buy from a store that just has like the chords and melodies from different jazz standards.
Oh, it's a book of. It's like the chords of a song. Okay, it's not
Yes,
fake.
and the
It's not
melody,
fake.
and
Why
the
is it?
melodies,
Why
and
is
whatever.
what? Why is it called a fake book? That's.
I don't know. I didn't mean to confuse you. I should have explained that off.
I lost $1 million in sponsorship from jazz companies. I'm calling your mother immediately and saying nasty things about you and splicing the audio meticulously. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, or
Jazz.
clarify it, maybe.
Wait, the fake book. Sorry, circling back. A singer songwriter,
Yeah.
is that better than a instrumentalist?
It's not better or worse. Like, I tend to listen to more instrumental music for sure, but I mean, every band has, Miles has played with singers, Coltrane's played with singers, Sun Ra's played with singers. Like, jazz vocalists are like a very important part of jazz. Like Ella Fitzgerald and like Billie Holiday, like absolutely like fundamental to jazz. It's not necessarily what I listen to it for, but yeah, very important.
But a person who's just like me, if I'm just copying, I'm just trying to replicate what Mozart wrote. on a piano in a, whatever, grade 3 piano way because
Sure.
that's where I'm at,
Sure.
am I a lesser artist?
It's not about trying to be like lesser or great. Like if you enjoy it, cool. Um, Once your technique improves, I put it to you this way: there's people who have unlimited technique, can play absolutely whatever they want, aren't bounded by you know, anything technical. They might play something very simple, right? Like just because it's more sophisticated or like harder to play or more elaborate or something doesn't make it better music. That's not what music is.
What is.
Like,
Why not? Why not? Why not? Why is that not what music is?
well, it's just supposed to be like good, not hard. Do you know what I mean?
The music is supposed to come out of the person like a child, an adult, a
Yeah,
musician, a
like
beginner.
look, if something is like too simple, maybe it's like boring. I'm not trying to say that like and something that is difficult, maybe music of a certain quality presupposes like a certain level of expertise or technique or playing, but not always. Like not at all. Sometimes it's like you just hold the note and it's just like perfect, and you're not playing like
Wait, but
you don't always need that.
but listening to music is so less than creating the music through the
No,
instrumentation.
it depends how you listen and it depends how you create. Sometimes listening to music is very hard to hear the thing that they're getting at.
Wait a second. Listening is harder than playing?
If you're playing something kind of easy and if you're listening to something kind of hard, yeah.
Wait, listening can be hard.
Look, if you sit there and it's just like playing in the room and you're just like, eating a bag of potato chips, anyone can do that. But like to actually like hear the thing that they're going for sometimes and like to have it click, that's not always easy.
You're saying that there's music that you listen to that you must. No potato chips allowed. It's raw
I'll put it to you this way.
music.
I'll put it to you this way. There's an interview with like John Gilmore, who's in the Sun Ra Orchestra for years, and he was describing how he was in the band for months, and they were playing this tune every night, playing this tune, and like after months of playing it, he like it finally clicked, like what the song was. He's like, as he put it, he's like, I finally heard the intervals, and I thought like, man, he's like that guy's more stretched out than Monk. That's how he put it, which is like a great phrase.
No, this touches on something very interesting. I remember like
Yeah.
smoking this years ago. Someone's like, "Hey, you want to? I got an extra cigarello or something," and it was
Sure.
like $2 or something. And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll have a chocolate cigarello." And I'm sitting there smoking it, and a guy takes out. This is at some like cigar shop that my father used to always go to because he was friends with the owner. And a guy takes out this like in a case like a 60. He's like, "This is how you smoke." And he takes out like a $60 cigar. And I'm like, isn't that just the same leaf wrapped in the same stuff? And he's like, terrible! Get the hell out of here and never return. And I'm like, whoa, okay, whoa, let me finish my. He's like, you have defaced the high art of smoking. And I'm like, I thought it's an art. I thought it kills you. He goes, even worse. And then I really hurt his feelings. The guy, I think he was retired. He's like, I'm getting older. Smoking, the doctors even say I'm not allowed to smoke. And I'm like, well, that's not allowed. He goes, no, you're missing the boat. And I'm like,
Both things are true. Sometimes, if you come at something hard that has a tradition behind it, you want to try to understand it on its own terms. You hope that the person trying to introduce you to it isn't like too stiff about it, and they're not like, get out of here, you're garbage, because like you made a mistake, learning about something. You hope that like people can kind of be like relaxed on both sides. But that notion of like hearing music and like, I don't know, it's like something unlocks and you're like, oh, I get it now. It like cracks open and you can like there are ways of like hearing a song from the inside of the notes. I don't know how to describe it.
Try to describe it. Hearing from inside the notes. Try. Rant. Freestyle.
Oh, it's like the way I've listened to music has changed. I used to be like very guitar centric, and it's like I used to really try to be like, okay, well, what's he playing? Like, how is he doing this? I would try to like figure out the song instead of think about all the instruments in a balanced way in relation to each other at the same time. I was like really like tilted because I was a guitar player, so I listened from that side of things, and it was like lopsided in my ear. And now I'm like trying to hear everybody at once, and like the timing of what they're all doing. Rhythm means a lot more to me now than it did, and you can almost hear. I think about like intervals in music. Do you remember what intervals are?
I have like a rudimentary music education, but go on. I'm rudimentary. Yeah.
Sure. So
I know what an
sometimes it's
interval
like,
is. Yeah.
I think about like what an inch looks like in physical space, or like a foot, and then certain chords they have like distances between the notes, and it's I don't know how to describe it, but it's like you can almost feel how far apart the notes are from each other, what the character of like certain chords, what they're like.
You're touching on something. No, you're clicking. I think I get what you're saying. I remember this goes back like, I don't know, 10
It
years
feels like
ago.
physical to me now. You can almost like see it.
I remember meeting someone and they're like, hi, my name's Mike. And he's like, my name's Matt. And I'm like, oh, I got connected with you to show you this computer thing I built. It took me 2 months. I've been working on it.
Yeah.
And he's like, interesting. I really like it. And I'm like, oh, I could send you the code. And he's like, no, Mike. I don't know anything about code or computer science at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, but Matt, you're not a coder. And he's like, no, don't you? No, I told you. I'm a musician. My father's a musician. Yeah. So I understand the other side. And I'm like, the other side? There's another side. He goes, yeah, you're just jamming. Someone has to come into the room and hear of all the jamming, which notes and which sequences shall be prepared for the world. And I'm like, but Matt, you can't read code. And he goes, no, but I understand what the non-coder will want to do. And I'm like, ooh! And he's like, yeah, don't you see the difference between like something that people want, a product is very different from the code. And then I'm thinking about what you're saying, and it's like, yeah, there's like the people who make the music, and then there's the time it takes to really hear it and see it and access it in its innate creativeness, and that could take 20 listens. He told me it took me, oh Mike, it took me like an hour. And I'm like, what? The video was like, 5 minutes. He goes, yeah, I watched it 12 times.
It's a weird thing, because to some people they're like, if I hear it and don't like it, why would I listen to it? It's like, I don't want
That's
to
right.
be, I either like it or I don't. And you're like, well, that makes sense. But on the other hand, it's like, sometimes there's like challenging, hard things that you need to like push yourself towards. And if you don't want to, like nobody could force you. But it's like, you're on a canoe trip. When you're doing the portage, it sucks. And then after, you're like, oh my God, that was amazing. You like jump in the lake and drop the canoe off, and you're like, oh, thank God I did that.
The doing is painful. You're talking about all those things in life where you don't want to do it, but after you do it, you go, oh, I did it. Woo!
I don't know. I don't know that it's the best allegory exactly, because sometimes it's like, well, I'm not comparing some music that I really like to like struggling in the woods with like mosquitoes on your face and your shoulders hurt. Like it isn't like pain or discomfort, but it's the sense of like, you might not think you like it at the time. There's like an angle that you'll learn to see it from, and you're like, oh shit, like.
I have memories. I have continuing on this tangent of tangents. I have a strong memory that I can never forget of
Yeah.
like, can we say some names? Alan Morris holding a canoe over his head and yelling mosquitoes, and another person, oh, I forgot, coming up to him and just like slapping him all over the face and his butt and his stomach, and then he goes, and then he takes the canoe again, and then I was a spectator, carrying a pack. Merker, you lightweight,
Sure.
you can never canoe proper, you can never
Yeah.
portage the canoe, and I'm like, I have a bad wrist, I physically can't, and it's
I
like
want to so
lightweight.
bad.
I couldn't, and then it was always like, for years of on the canoe trips, which is you're just in the middle of the woods and you got a canoe and lift the canoe. I was like, look, the best I could do is like a heavy pack that's wet, and I'm like killing myself with the pack. And then I remember, yeah, people were like, why don't you try the canoe? Don't say you can't do it. And I'm like, and then I think one time they're like, Merker has the canoe, and I went like 10 steps, and I just collapsed.
Yeah.
And then people were just like, "Where's Merker? Where's the canoe? What happened?" And I'm like, "I told you I can't do it." It's like, "You don't want to do it," and I'm like, "No, I physically. This is a crazy banana shapes, all sorts of wooden wet,
But
demonic."
it is psychological. Did you do it in the end?
In the end, I could
Where
get
is
the.
that canoe now? Is it still at the start of the
The
portal?
canoe is being brought. We're time traveling. No, I actually,
Yeah.
I remember that there was the first canoe trip you had to go on, but
Yeah,
the
first
second
one.
one you was optional. So I always opted out. I go, Merker cannot do it. Merker needs to have his math textbooks over here. He needs
Sure.
his, tapes of national anthems and other, Cisco and other 1990s rap songs. He needs to have certain creature comforts. He's already away from home. He needs his math books and his
Sure. How
chess
far
sets.
away should he get?
And they're like, "You're not going to go on the canoe trip?" Everyone in the cabin wants to go on the canoe
So
trip.
did you carry the canoe?
I'm trying to
Just help.
I'm trying to change the topic to admit that in my entire life I have never succeeded, even for a minute, in the carrying of a canoe. And I actually think about this. Actually, now that we're talking about it, it is one of those things that a shame. It is a mark of shame of that is something that I never pushed myself to do. And why am I saying this? Because a person asked me the other day, why do you have to
But
be a
you can make amends for it by listening to some difficult jazz and struggling through that. We will get to the bottom of this. I will fix you. I'll send you some Sun Ra, and you'll sit there and be like, what the hell is this? And then you'll think of that canoe, and you'll think, I have to keep listening. And then it'll be cathartic. At the end, you'll come out and be satisfied.
I will add to it that there's so many other things in life. I guess I'm old enough now to come to the awareness that here's like 200 or 300 things in my life.
And by the way, let it go. Don't let it actually haunt you.
We shouldn't have skeletons and ghosts haunting us,
I
metaphorically.
mean, like, not for that. Okay, whatever. Like,
You're a let it go.
you
You're
didn't,
of the.
secretly murder somebody and ditch the body. It was just like a canoe you didn't carry. You don't need to. That's not a mark of shame. That's okay. Deep breath,
But I have
let it go.
lots.
I'm
No,
sorry.
no, I have all sorts of. I just learned this. I learned this last month. Took 41 years. Is that whatever goes on in one person's head, and in their personal life and their history, may be so far off to the guy sitting next to you who you've known forever. And everyone's experiences, memories, and upbringing, and nature and nurture, and traditions and beliefs are actually so completely different that if you just talk to anyone, sometimes it takes more than 1 minute of whatever, but if you don't ask the person, you don't know what it is. So if you, like for example, if you talk to a stranger and you've never met them and you don't know what they're up to and they have nothing in common with you, if you were to actually talk to them, you would see that they are not an Italian person who's obviously a mobster, or some woman who's obviously a bitch, or some, old man who's obviously retired. Or no. Even the other day, I went into like a store, and there was a guy who was like 70 years old. And I'm like, 70-year-old guy working in a store? What's going on? He should be retired. Like, well, if you don't have, there's no rhyme or reason. We can't judge. And I actually just learned this recently. Don't stereotypes are never real. There's billions of people, man. It's complicated.
No. People are, we were talking about like internalizing these things, and it's like sometimes you might lead yourself to be that stereotype, and usually, if you assume somebody is like their type, you'll probably be wrong, like almost always, and like even if you're right, you should assume somebody isn't. It's like it's better to assume that they're like not the thing you see, and then find out, oh, they really are. Okay, whatever. I think that's like a charitable way to be.
For example, I always thought if people were very, very rich, then the first thing they would do would, I don't know, give back. And if people were really poor, the first thing they would do is try to take for themselves. But it's the complete opposite. Have you?
That's why they have so much money.
The more you have, the more you have, the more you want. There was like,
and it works the other way too. But I mean, I think there are studies that show that people of like lower income brackets do give more away to charity, or maybe it's not like a lesser number, but like a larger percent of their income.
And I don't know if you talk to like a very politically active American guy who, he's like, well, which side of the aisle are you on? And I'm like, what? He's like, you're a Republican? And I'm like, what? I don't even know what that means. We don't have, I don't know. You don't even know what that means? What? And I'm like, hold on a second here. And then another time, like someone's like, the Super Bowl's coming up. Who do you want to win? And I'm like, who do I want to win? And he's like,
what it means is, who are you gambling on? Who are you putting money on?
So I, by not answering certain very polarizing questions immediately, and then in line with the other person's choices, preconceived choices, people get furious. You're what? And I'm like, well, look, okay, I said that all I said was, there's a group of people, like all the...
Do you mean it? Can we have a nuanced conversation? What about like a subsection of this? Maybe I don't subscribe to this schema of yours, and I'm not in one camp or the other.
No, but...
like, what the fuck? Who the hell are you?
Yeah, no, but it's literal. Like, for example, someone's like, you have to hate all the LGBT people. And I'm like, wait a second.
What?
Who's the CEO of Apple? He's as straight as a circle. And the guy's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, so you can never use Apple products. He goes, well, I really like Apple products. And I'm like, Tim Cook is openly gay, so you're not allowed to use Apple products. And he goes, hey, wait a second, I didn't
know he was gay.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know the first thing about him. I know his name, and that's about it.
I'm just saying, like, as you get older or whatever, you get to a point where you're just like...
One reason not to hate people of many good reasons, I guess.
Or like, I don't know.
Probably not the best reason, but I know what you mean.
Or like...
Whatever works.
Yeah, or like there's all this, trans, you have to hate all the trans people, and they're destroying the world, and I'm like, wait a second. When's the last time when's the last time there was like a shooting in a school and they're like, it was a lesbian. Oh, those lesbians are murdering everyone. Or, that just doesn't happen.
No, they're not. And I swear to God, if, like, most shooters are trans, you know what I mean? And it's, there is a really concerted effort to make people want to hate trans people. That is like just crazy. Just don't. at all. Like they already have um, a lot of pressure and have an extremely hard go of things. I don't want to add to that for anybody. Like, what are we talking about here?
No,
I swear,
I'm,
it's all this culture war stuff. It's like industrialists are just robbing everybody, and you're just talking about like issues that nobody cares about. Talk about money and just stop it.
like, for example, there's Ben Shapiro. You know who Ben Shapiro is, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, shout. You know, people are like genuinely asking heartfelt, personal questions on like a university campus, and he's like, no, bad, black and white, bad person, and the person, and it's like,
He to me is a guy who should be utterly ignored. It's like he has had so many chances to. He's had the mic for a long time. I don't know. I've never found him to be interesting, compelling, honest, intelligent, deep. And it's like, I just don't need to even deal with it one way or another. You
and
know?
I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, if what is, like, why does this person get his voice louder than other people whose voice has been quieted? Why does the microphone
Sometimes
go
you
to
come up
him?
and like, so I think Ben Shapiro was like Laura Ingraham, like some of these people, there's like these like conservative groups, and it's like either like newspapers or societies or whatever, and they just take like an interest in it when they're young, and then they have either charisma or there's something, or like an anti-charisma where people like hate them but just want to watch them. But usually it's like, to oversimplify things again, industrialists are like, we don't even need to brainwash this guy. He's saying what we want him to. So just give him money and give him a microphone.
It's interesting. So like, what's the other and then you have like the rightist of the right, American blah blah blahs,
Yeah.
and then you have like the leftist of the left, and I'm like
There's
sitting like what?
Okay, to my way of thinking, Democrats are also right wing. Like they're all pro business. They're corporations, all this that like sponsor them and fund their elections. Like there isn't really like a left wing in the U.S. Not really in Canada either. Like the Democrats aren't a socialist party. Like they would deny that. So like what like in Europe they would be like a center right party, just a right wing party. The Republicans would be like super firm.
I'll tell you, it's even deeper. Or I guess what I'm getting at is even at a deeper level. There's like I said to myself, what was it, a month ago? You know what? I'm gonna interview. I'm gonna do 100 interviews, and I said that to myself. That's what I'm gonna try and do, and I'm gonna fit it in the cracks in this area of my life, in this area of my life, and why I'm gonna do it. It's not even so clear, but I did write down I'm gonna do it. I did announce. There was a video where I said I'm gonna do it. I said I did 5 out of 100, 8 out of 100. And then I guess there's the accountability of that. And then I didn't know that hey, I'm going to interview. Sometimes I'm like, okay, let me spend, 20 minutes. If I don't know the person at all, at least let me learn a little bit about the person. I didn't know I've already signed up people and committed to it and booked them and set up the mic.
This person's a total whack job.
And or even crazier is this person, I don't know who they are at all, and I am going to be interviewing them, and I don't know the laws of interviewing.
Look,
Who knows what's going to happen? I could end up with my head on a stick or my butt, my pants down.
you should know who you're giving a platform to, because if they end up saying something crazy or like violent or I'm sure they're all nice people and it's not going to come to that. But,
I don't know.
Like, either be prepared to like push back or like just to like anticipate how things could go.
But it's even crazier than that. It's not so much
Sure
the
they're all
fear.
lovely and it won't come up, but
No. I guess what I'm getting at is not so much talking this out. Actually, is very helpful. It's not so much that I'm afraid of what they are saying. It's that when you talk to someone at length and then you watch it after, right? I'm like watching it after. People have a way of talking. It's not like Mike Merker is 100% locked in Mike Merkerism. So you talk to someone who is very aggressive about peace on world peace, or literally, or you talk to someone who's like a really good writer, or you talk to someone who's really inspiring, and then it has a convincing layer to it. So I cannot be 100% just me anymore. It's like, people, when you talk to someone for an hour, they say things, and it's like parts of my brain.
If you're interviewing, it's not like your job is to tease it out of them. It's not the Merker show.
Oh, it's not the Merker show, but it's not the Merker show.
Like,
What
you
is
can
it?
facilitate. Okay, it is because it's your podcast or whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's arranged by theme. Maybe it has like your mannerism, like your mood and whatever. And look, we're obviously talking, but yeah, typically like the person interviewing, like the point of it is to like get ideas out of the guest.
Oh, the guests. The guest is in charge. The guest. It's about the guest. The guest. The guest. The guest. The guest is the host.
Like, it goes back and forth. It's not just like the guest either only, right? Like it's a conversation, it's a dialogue, but it's like, why are you having them on the show and not someone else?
Oh, I'm supposed to be thinking about who is on the show.
Yeah, you don't just take anyone off the street typically, although you did in this case.
Well, I've known you for 30 years. Wait a second, but who is to say that this guy over here in Spain, he's a lesser person than this affluent person in Toronto?
I totally agree with you mean. I'm not suggesting that you select people based on their status or perceived status. If someone's interesting and they're just cool and you want to talk to them, do it. But you should just know who they are and have like a reason why you want to.
Because it could be because. But if what's the saying by Yogi Berra? If you don't know where you're going, you can't get lost, or something. So.
Sounds like him.
When you interviewed people or wrote about something,
No.
it was always an agenda. There had to be an agenda.
No. You're not supposed to have that. Like, you're doing, like, look, there might be a hook. It might be like, well, we're interviewing this minister because, like, this issue is going on and it, like, relates to him. He's in charge of, like, technology and, like, this, some crazy shit's going on with a company here and, like, he's supposed to rule on it. So, like, what's happening? Like, sometimes the nature of a person's life is relevant to the news, so you ask about it. But it's never, maybe you have an agenda, maybe not like an ulterior motive or something,
But isn't, if there's any. I talked to someone and they're like, "Oh, I'm a journalist, Mike. I don't do it for free. If someone wants to be on my show, $1,000." And I'm like, "But that's an agenda." She's like, "Well, I have to. That's my job. I don't do this as a hobby. I have bills to pay." And I was like, "Oh, your journalistic nature." And she's like, "Yeah, I do this 60 hours a week. This is all I do. I never went to computer college. I'm not the Jewish guy with fancy summer camps like you openly talked about with Jeff." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to get into that." They're like, "Well, you have it so easy that you can be agendaless, and that itself is an agenda." And I was like, "Holy shoot, you watched all my stuff and now you're unmerkering me. Oh my God, I can't sleep at night." And she's like, "Okay, well, I'm also was born in Germany and you with the yarmulke, you're setting up some controversy there." And I'm like, "I didn't know you were German." She's like, I feel bad about what happened, 80 years ago." And I'm like, "That was 80 years ago." And she goes, "Well, not in Germany. We're all, feeling that vibe." And I'm like, "Well, you did kill a bunch of people also." And she's like, That's what I'm talking about. So I'm not coming on your show if you're gonna. The Holocaust is gonna be hung over my neck, and I'm like, well, hey, what you did to what your grandfather did to my grandfather is obviously on the table, right? And she's like, no, God, no, I can't have that. And then I'm like, so you're not coming on the show? And she's like, well, not if not if you're gonna, not if you're gonna Holocaust
When
me.
people pay $1,000 to be on it, or be on yours for free and get grilled over extremely sensitive, horrible things.
So I guess what I'm getting at, I guess I'm sorting this out, verbally vocalizing it.
Sounds like you are, yeah.
But like, is it wrong to be angry at people who are forcing people to pay to be on a platform? Isn't that wrong? You can't pay
Well,
people.
Are you misrepresenting what it is? Like, if you are, telling people that, hey, this is like a neutral thing and we're just having dialogue, but really people are paying to promote their stuff and you're not asking, you're not actually grilling them, then you're like misrepresenting what it is. I don't know how big it is. In theory, yeah, I think that is dishonest.
But I always thought the way media works is that honest people interview honest people, and then and then there's a commercial break, and the commercial, of Sleep Country Canada.
We were sweet kids. It turns out there's like the ad, and then when they come back, it's like that's a different kind of ad. There's like ads built into the program, and then they go to like actual advertising. Like there's almost no. It's very hard to get outside of that dynamic. It's like I was saying, I was like, oh, you can't just like write something and publish it because it's fascinating. Usually it's like, unless you develop a separate audience with them. If you have like a paying audience that's going to support you, then you can do it.
So
that's hard to cultivate.
So all media is by nature, all commercialized media is by nature commercialized.
I mean, look. Usually, people do need to make money. Like let's not be purist. I don't think that necessarily means that you're like saying things you don't believe when you're saying it. Like there's people who have political podcasts who, there's a consistency between who their advertisers are, who their audience is, and like what they're saying, and there's like nice alignment. They don't have to like compromise their beliefs to say it, and they do it ethically. Like there are ways of doing it for sure. I don't think that happens all the time, but it's like usually it's like easier to make money. Nobody has journalistic ethics for the money. I put it to you that way.
And what do you mean by journalistic ethics?
It's where you are transparent about where your funding comes from, like what the messaging is. Like you're not concealing anything from your audience. And, hopefully you really believe what you're saying and you're not just like selling something.
But oh wait, so that's only possible now in this generation, in this day and age, because you couldn't do that.
Look, it used to be, hey, we had these relationships with these advertisers. They pay us. Here's a newspaper. You can print what's honest and real, and here's a section of it. The advertiser pays for that space. And then people have some subscriptions, and fine, you'll make money, and hopefully you can print what's real. Well, obviously, not every newspaper or writer was honest, and there's a lot of garbage. But that model, it could work. Every model, maybe it can like work in some places for a bit, but like there's a tension because it's like there are entities that want to get their messaging across that aren't honest, are like nefarious. If they're transparent about everything, nobody's gonna like them.
I just don't understand why there isn't like there's all this let's call it white man media, and it's like the loudest. Whereas like black woman media or LGBT media or religious Jewish fundamentalist media.
It's usually like, there's like alt weeklies and stuff where they get printed that like make a point to publish them and like that are looking for those voices, right?
But
Like
how
there's
come?
establishment newspapers that don't tend to publish minorities.
I just like for example, there aren't a lot of like Amish people in the media. Are is their voice silenced?
Um, you'd have to ask them. I don't know. I'm certainly not a representative of the Amish.
But what if they have great ideas about music that they're not sharing?
Like because they don't have the equipment to record it.
Well, that's part of the.
They're writing all this great stuff, and it just goes out into the air and is never heard again. Yeah, I mean,
But I want it. Mike Merker wants to hear it.
look, the best musicians alive right now, we will probably never know their name. They're probably working some stupid, degrading job, and the world will never hear their genius.
That is a better way to say it. Don't you see that all the purest art is unartistable because of a
Like,
machine that we've crafted?
Anytime you hear about like a wonderful artist who made it, usually they got like a break, something really like fortunate happened, and it's like talent, hard work, and a stroke of luck came together, and it's like, oh my god, like we got this band, thank God. If this one thing didn't happen, maybe we wouldn't. Maybe we would have. Maybe something else could have happened, or maybe they're just so talented and determined they would have pushed through. But like, it's hard.
Oh, so when it comes to art and music and elements of life that are not so industrialized, pure art, pure music, pure expression, it's
Yeah,
nature.
you're saying pure, but like, it doesn't have to necessarily be, some like weirdo avant-garde stuff. Like, I don't know.
But how come
I
Sun
didn't see the
Ra?
Elton John movie, but it's like he's like an example of like a great musician, unbelievable musician, great songwriter, great singer, just like unbelievable performer. Maybe he inspired people, but he wasn't like the song was this before, and now like after him, like music is different. Maybe it's better, but like I don't know that he. I don't. Maybe he did change songwriting. Maybe that's not the best example, but like, there's people who it's like the before and after. Jimi Hendrix. You listen to what guitar players were playing before him and after, and it's like okay, night and day. Like whoa, thank God that guy made it. If he didn't get this break, music might be really boring today if that man doesn't get discovered in London. America.
No, you're saying so good. I feel that the people who know, let's say, computer science, or they've spent years learning computer training and the data science, all these fields which are now at the crux of society. These people they're like the dog who gets to piss on the most trees. They get to make the largest mark. And then I personally feel that, yeah, it's like if you happen to have a trade that happens to have been flourishing, then it gives you more brain space to give you time to do art, to share the art. Whereas if we were born in India to a poor family, we wouldn't get any microphone and any MacBook Pro and any YouTube channel and any Sun Ra t-shirt and any cartoon character to put on their shirt with the same nerdy glasses.
You might. There's definitely upper class too, and they have their media and they've got a lot going on. And I put it to you this way: there are more people, there are more upper class Indians than there are people in Canada.
What? Wait, explain.
They have 1.4 billion people, right? So if 1%, I'm trying to think about the math, but it's they their numbers are so huge. 1 in every 6 people on Earth lives in India.
That is its own topic. Wait a second. So there are more rich people because if you're saying that the top 10% of richest people in a country, that's 10 times the size or 30 times the size. That's right. The top 1% of Indians is itself.
like
13
the
million
numbers are
people.
just the scale is so different there because of the population.
Wait, so there's
Canada,
there's more geniuses in India than there are in Canada.
there's more of everything in India.
There's more everything. Yeah, but you're being paid by the Indian government to have this podcast. I did research.
I'm an agent of Big India.